and then we're gonna do 1, 2, 3 clap. You ready? Well, not right this second. All right, 1, 2, 3. Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to episode 108 of Nintendo Talk. I am Bobby, the Nintendo Guru, joined by the most handsome man in all the land, Mr. Patrick McNamara, NintenTalk himself. What's up, Pat?
What is up, guys? Stealth drop. We stealth dropped that on you, but now you know about it, so you're good.
Yeah, now we're all. Everybody should be on the same page.
Exactly.
Everybody should be happy.
I do want to say thank you to everyone who was so welcoming. I know this is 108. That's a long way to go, and then to just drop a new host. So yeah, and Toby was cool about it. So
yeah,
very cool.
Everybody likes you, Pat. It's not it's not a thing where you have to feel and the truth of the matter is this particular show, it wasn't like it was mine and Toby's show. This particular...
Yeah, it started off the live thing.
It started off with live, and Toby and I were doing other shows together, and then we brought into this one. And then when I went to him before I brought you in, and I told him the idea and such, he was just like, that's fine, dude. He was just like, if I do something, I'll do something different with you anyway. I don't think, because I felt like he felt kind of alien to coming into this already with a pre-existing thing.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. But dude, it was a lot of fun last week, and hopefully this week we'll have some more stuff. In case you missed it, there were some breakout clips that went up on Pat's channel, which was I loved. I thought they actually turned out really well, and everything worked out well. And then we're gonna have the full show on Wednesdays over here on NintendoGuru.com and available on wherever podcasts are available, iTunes, Google Play, all that stuff. But Pat, it's time we kick this episode off like we do each and every episode with our Geek Outs.
Geek Outs. So I have two today. I have first one. I posted a video yesterday about Star Wars Pinball. Dude, I'm loving that game. It was only so GameStop has deals of the day. I didn't even know about this. But in store for that day, it was $13 brand new for a cartridge.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Star Wars Pinball, there's 19 available boards, and they span through a bunch of the movies. There's a Rogue One board. There's even Last Jedi, so it's pretty updated. So that's my first one. I've been having a lot of fun with that. And also, I bought the Pokemon Sword and Shield strategy guide.
Oh, good lord.
Wah, wah, wah.
How did you buy that? Did you even buy the game?
Yeah, I beat it.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
So now I'm hunting for all the Pokemon, doing raids. That's kind of my life right now.
Raids are fun.
Yeah. And then, holy crap, I randomly decided to go on Fortnite. And yeah, that's been my last 3 days. So, dude, it's so fun. And actually, I haven't played it for a while. I went on there and it runs a little better now. They definitely.
I think it runs a lot better on Switch.
Yeah.
A lot better on Switch. You can literally see people far away now.
Yeah.
And you can hit them far away. Where before, you could see them far away, but you could never shoot them that far.
Yeah, you had to wait a little bit.
Yeah, but on PS4 and Xbox One, they could be a distance, and you could light them up from a distance. So it does. Since Chapter 2, it runs and plays. But to be fair, so let's be fair a little bit here, too. Chapter 2 is an absolutely stripped-down version of the game. Yeah. They did away with most of the weapons, most of the areas. I feel like when Nintendo stepped into Fortnite, there was so much stuff already there.
Yeah.
So I think as we move forward and we progress, I think that's when it's going to get to be bogged down a little bit.
It's definitely fun. There's a lot different. The only thing is there's not as many ways of transportation. They got rid of a lot of cars and you got rid of cars and stuff like that. So now there's only a boat that you can go in.
Yeah, the boat's the only thing. I think they're going to do. I don't know if you saw. There's a racetrack with lawnmowers. I'm wondering if that's going to actually open up to be something at some point.
Yeah.
It's fun,
Yeah.
dude. And we got a couple Victory Royales yesterday when we played.
Yes, dude.
Yeah,
Good stuff. Lightsabers,
oh,
it's so awesome. I love it.
it's So when yesterday, I was streaming and we were playing, and I dressed as Kylo Ren because I bought the Kylo Ren skin, and I get the Kylo Ren lightsaber, and like I don't think you were listening to stream at that time.
No, I don't think I was.
But like I'm like telling you like back down, I got this, and I'm like running across the map. I would see one person shooting from like a mile away, and I just start charging them, like just blocking their shots, get up, light them up, and kill them. And then like the one match, I had like 8-9 kills.
Yep.
And it was so much fun, dude. I love playing that game. That game is so much fun. The Star Wars stuff just really, and there's so many people playing it now because of Star Wars stuff. Mm-hmm. It's really, really cool. Myself, I am geeking out about this little known game called Dauntless.
Dude, I've seen you playing it.
Oh my god, dude! The hooks are in deep, like deep. It's Monster Hunter Lite. It's Monster Hunter Fortnite Edition. So it's made by the same developer. It's made by Epic.
Okay.
They have like a hunt pass, which is just like the battle pass. But
I'm really surprised Joe isn't into that. Is he into it at all?
Because he's into Monster Hunter and he's being like snobby. He's being uppity. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, he's being that guy.
I see.
Yeah, it's real BS, honestly. But for me, I've been playing it, and the first night I played with Joel Brooks and Tony Baker for Quest for Pixels.
Yes.
And I was playing with those guys, and they were kind of teaching me what to do. And then in the middle of them teaching me, apparently a bunch of people that play Dauntless started showing up to the stream.
Oh, nice.
And then they started jumping into the matches. And they're like, you know,
pros.
Yeah, they're pros. But it's nice because the learning curve has been so quick for me compared to Monster Hunter. Like Monster Hunter, dude, I'd still be sitting there going like, what the hell do I do? What do I need? Where do I go? How does this work? And this is just like, you jump in, you just go track down this monster, wipe it out, good to go. And then when you come out, you get like all this stuff, and then you take it and you can use it to like build your gear, up your gear, and do stuff. So for me personally, I've been loving it. It's so, I wish the character designs were a little better. They feel real weak. Now I don't know if it's because I played on the Switch or not. But they feel real weak.
Of the monsters or the players themselves?
Of the players themselves.
Okay.
Like your avatar. When you start putting on gear, you think that like you're putting on this thing, it's going to make you look badass.
Oh, it's just stats?
It does. It puts the gear on, but the gear just looks like crap. It just doesn't look good.
I see.
You know, with Monster Hunter, like you put the gear on and the gear looks like some awesome stuff. So
yeah.
We got a couple of news stories that I want to jump into real quickly. We're going to hit these, and then we're going to kind of like move on. The first one comes from Nintendo Life, and apparently a U.S. importer has been arrested for manufacturing counterfeit Mario and Pokemon toys. When you kind of get into the story, it changes a little bit, and it's basically like it's talking about how it's basically an importer who was bringing in fake stuff. But they've done stuff as far as like fake amiibo and all this stuff. And so they've been charged with manufacturing and possessing more than $1.4 million in counterfeit goods. The two Nintendo franchises, which I said was Mario and Pokemon, but they also got nailed for Hello Kitty, Angry Birds, and Lego Ninjago. Ninjago. So it's all this crazy stuff. The man in question is Juan Pio, and it's Juan. It's like WANPIAO, who's been charged with 7 felony accounts of counterfeit offenses, including an allegation of taking more than $500,000 through fraud and embezzlement. He's a stand-up classy guy, you know. But he's in trouble, man. He's facing up to 12 years in jail for this, which kind of blows me away. Because here's this guy that has like 1 point, he's stealing, doing all this stuff, and Aunt Becky's looking at 40 years just for sending her kid to college. Like, come on, man.
Aunt Becky's innocent, okay? Now, one thing I do know about Nintendo, yes, they do make these cuddly, friendly games, but as soon as you start taking money from them, they
done.
come down on you like crazy.
It's lights out.
I don't know if you saw, it's like all over Twitter now. There's like a counterfeit like Switch out there. It looks exactly like a Switch. I should tag you later on. But it literally looks like a Switch. The box looks like a Switch, except like on the box it says like over 300 games. I don't know if it's like one of those like 301, like, you know how they did the NES Classic and they just put a bunch of games on it. I think it's something like that.
Yeah.
But that's out in the news too now. And it's like these companies, yeah, they'll make a little bit of money, but they're going to jail.
Yeah, they're in some serious trouble. The other story I can't really get to open up right away, so I'm going to jump on my phone real quick so that way I can have it. But it's basically saying that the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, beware, the Switch has a secret up its sleeve. And that's more or less basically to the point where they're saying that, like, Nintendo is going to be okay when everything is said and done. It's... Hold on a second. I lost my... Okay, it's still recording. Okay. Essentially, the story comes... It's a British paper called Express. And it says, Nintendo may not be as powerful as the PS5 and the Xbox 2, they're calling it here, but it struck a chord with video game fans everywhere. Sony and Microsoft are gearing up to launch the ultra-powerful next-gen systems, but Nintendo has a trick up its sleeve, and that is its indie games. Essentially what they're saying is that because Nintendo has a strong indie lineup, that even though these other consoles are going to kind of move on and move away, Nintendo has such a massive, like, library that there's so much stuff for people to play that people will continue to support the Switch moving forward. I don't know how you think or feel about that, because, I mean, the Xbox Series X is probably going to be a pricey alternative to what the Xbox One S is and the Xbox One X. And then the PS5 we know is probably going to be more pricier than the other ones. I think we're in PS3, Xbox 360 territory with those ones, honestly. What's your belief? What's your take?
Well, first of all, I did tag you in that thing on Twitter, but
Okay.
the what you're saying is like indies are going to save the Switch. We've been saying for a couple of years now that we consider indie games like third-party games for Nintendo. Yeah. The thing about it is I have an Xbox, I had a PS4, and honestly, a lot of the indies that are on the Switch are on these consoles, with a few exceptions like Golf Story and stuff like that. I think that Nintendo is going to have a better initiative to reward indie companies and actually clean up the eShop so that there is incentive for indie companies to maybe go exclusive with the Switch, because that's clearly where the audience is. We've seen like The Messenger, Shovel Knight all do the best on the Switch. So I kind of agree with it, but at the same time, like most of the indie offerings are on the other consoles.
Well, yes, but they usually come to Switch first or day and date on the other ones. Where third parties, Nintendo struggles because the third parties won't bring stuff day and date typically because they got to do more work to it on the Switch than the other versions. Like Doom, was it Doom Eternal, the next one?
Yeah.
That won't be on the Switch day and date. It's definitely coming to Switch, but it won't be day and date. So I think Nintendo is in an okay position when you look at it. They just announced this week they have 2,500 games that are hitting the Switch. And with that being said, like that many games, and that's only year 3. I think it bodes well for Nintendo. I think that as long as the indie teams continue to support, and not just indie games, the quality indie games.
Yeah.
You look at a game like, SteamWorld Quest. That launches day 1, Switch. The other companies don't get it right away. Shovel Knight, Treasure Trove. Like, yes, it went everywhere, but Treasure Trove went to the Switch first, and Treasure Trove actually sold better than all these other companies,
Mm-hmm.
And Shovel Knight itself has sold better than Switch, and it wasn't like it was brand new. It was an older game. So I think that there's something about the Switch and about indie games that it just makes it very convenient. I think it's easier to port the games over, number one. And I think that the fact that it has a huge install base coming out the gates, it helps. That's the one thing that these other companies have. It's going to take a couple years before the third parties and first parties can start producing quality games out the gate. Nintendo was in a good position where they had a bunch of first party games ready to go, and then indie developers were right there bringing all their stuff over, and then the third party started to come in. So I think they could be safe, but it's gonna be questionable, honestly.
The only thing that scares me is that you look at the current eShop, and I think more than ever before, you're starting to see games that come out like a month ago start having like 50%, 60% off things. And I don't know. I was actually going to bring this up in another topic, but like, seems like the market is all screwed up, and it starts with these like freaking like free 99-cent eShop games that get all the attention, and then, you know, actual good games, they want a piece of that too, so they're willing to take some of their profit off. It just seems like a really bad market right now.
Well, okay, so I could tell you this because I work for a TUI for 6 months, right?
They had deep discounts too.
Yeah, man. And the one thing that I learned from working with Jules was, I don't know, I'm not going to really get into specific numbers because I don't really know specific numbers. So I'm going to give roundabout numbers and hypothetical numbers just to make the analogy easy. But when, an example, Mutant Mud's collection launches day one on the Switch, it's hard to find. It's buried. People don't see it. And that game, let's just say that game sold like 4,000 copies, right? Okay, it's not great. It's not huge.
And that was what, $9.99 when it came out?
Yeah, it was $15.99 unless you pre-ordered it, and then you got it cheaper.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but then months go by, and Jules does his first sale where he does like, I think the first one was like 60% off or 70% off, which is a deep cut for a game like that. He sold triple the amount of games at that sale than he did in the original. So he made more money by cutting the price down on sale, because it had nothing to do with the game was bad or anything. It just had to do with it had exposure.
Mm-hmm.
People were able to see this game, and then people go like, and then you have the word of mouth because someone buys a game for $5 and it's a really good game, and then it just gets out there and spreads. Every single time that we would put a game on sale, it would chart in the top sales of games. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of games that are being sold at a discount at that time. But Jules just noticed that he saw huge numbers coming in every time he put these games on sale, just because of the placement in the eShop. Because the overall placement in the eShop is garbage, but when you go on sale, you run the risk of like getting better view.
So pretty much, he was willing to sell 50,000 copies at 99 cents rather than like 2,000 at full price, which kind of makes sense. Yeah,
money wise, you're doing, it's selling itself essentially.
Yeah,
but the problem is like, what happens for brand new games, and it starts to create this crazy, because there's games like you buy, like I just bought Ditto today.
Yep,
it's like a top-down Zelda type game, right? 50% off. I got it for $7, right?
Yeah.
Now I was going to buy it regardless, just because I had heard about it, and I went to go buy it, and then it would happen to be on sale. But it's like I would have bought it at $15 just because of people telling me about it. But it's Nintendo needs to, and we've talked about it before. You've said it before. I know that they need to overhaul the eShop.
Yeah,
and they need it in a big bad way, and they need to help developers in those aspects. All right, so we have a few topics for today. Do you want to do? Let's do. You have two. I have one.
Okay.
Because I'm going to use both yours from this week. So let's do your first topic. Then we'll do mine. Then we'll do yours. Your final.
The name one.
The name one first. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So a few people were talking about this. A couple feelings might have been hurt, but the new Xbox One Series X was just announced, and that is the newest Xbox console. It looks like a powerhouse. We don't know much about it, but it looks like PC level. It even looks like a computer tower. And I wanted to bring up this topic here. Does the Xbox One Series X have a Wii U problem? Which basically, is the name going to hurt this console in any way? I don't think, anything could do like what the Wii U did. But my question to you is, like, does this have a name problem? For us gamers, we know obviously about everything about this console already. But, a mom going in for Christmas or next Christmas or whatever saying, I want the newest Xbox, when there's like Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X. Like, there's a lot of SKUs. So I don't know how you feel about this.
So I worked at Best Buy when the PS2 was launched. And I'm pretty confident to say that if there's ever issues like this, it has to do everything with the retailer and nothing to do with Xbox. I've read a lot of stuff, and I feel like Xbox is in the Wii U type problem because people are just creating false confusion.
Yeah.
You're trying to go, well, when mom and pop goes to the store to buy for little Jimmy, they're not going to be able to explain. Please. If the parent goes in there and goes, I want to get my kid a new Xbox, right? It's no different than the Xbox One to the Xbox, or from the 360 to the Xbox One. Like, it was always one of these weird confusion things.
Because you got this new generation, but you also have 3 SKUs of the last generation.
Yeah.
Which, like, the Xbox One X isn't that old. That's like 2 years old.
Yeah, but so if I tell my mom I want the new Xbox, right? And I know that there's additional ones out there. Would you tell your mom, hey, Mom, I want the new Xbox? Or would you write down the name and say, go into the store and just show them this?
I think all of the X's are going to be the confusion. Because you have one X,
I don't think it will
X
be.
series.
Okay, so if I went into, if you're a worker, right?
Yep.
And I walk up to you, Pat, and I said, hey, my kid, let's role play a little bit, right? So I walk into GameStop. You're working GameStop. And I said, hey, man, my kid really wants this new Xbox. I don't know what it's Xbox S or Xbox X. It's something. I don't know. It's the new thing. What are you going to sell me?
I'm going to try and upsell you the newest one.
You're not. You're good. Well, I mean, you're going to, but you're going to say, like, he wants the new one, right? Yes. Okay, This is the new one. This is the new. Like, as the worker, the employee, you know what the new one is. This false narrative that people are playing where they're acting like, oh, well, they're not going to know. That's the salesperson's job.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, when something launches at Christmas time, it's hard to get anyway.
Yeah.
It's not really easy to get when it walks in because it usually sells pretty good year one. So it's Best Buy, it's not going to be just laying on the shelves, if it's laying on the shelves, they got a bigger problem than it is. Yeah. But when you walk in, it's not usually when you have stuff like that. I know from working at Best Buy, like when they had like big stuff, they put it behind the customer service counter.
Yeah.
So you'd have to go in and ask for it. Because they don't want it just laying on the shelf. Because they want to try to sell you a bunch of other stuff with it.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I bring this up for conversation purposes more than anything. Mm-hmm. I do think that there is going to be a little problem initially. I think that Microsoft right now has to get rid of all their stock of especially the 1S. Because then you start getting well, what's the 1S? Can it play Xbox One X games? No, yeah, you can play. That's kind of where it gets confusing. I think, though, if a kid wants clearly they look different and there's going to be a massive price difference. Yeah. I just think that, and I personally think that the Xbox One X series is going to be they're going to have a lower one within that series. That's why they're calling it series. Yeah. So I think the rest of the stock, once that goes, it's going to be fine. But it looks similar. The name, there's too many X's. Every game plays on everything now, so that's even more. So
that's the thing. I think the Xbox big scale really doesn't give a damn what they sell of this thing.
That's true.
They're selling Game Pass. They have moved into the Windows type generation of video games where they don't care about the rest. They are selling Game Pass, and that's where their bread and butter and their money is. They're a service game company. And they're looking to X Cloud, honestly, I think. So I just think that, listen, I lived during the Wii U era. You lived during the Wii U era. I remember when that thing first got announced. I remember listening to Adam Sessler or whatever, sitting there trying to argue with Reggie that it's a peripheral. Like, the guy just told you it's a new console. Shut up. Like, you're going to continue these fake narratives because you just want to act cool, you want to act edgy, you want to slam dunk on the company on Twitter, like, because that's all Twitter is anymore. It's just a toxic cesspool of slam dunking on people, and that's essentially what it is. But I think in the real world, when the parents walk into the store and they tell them what they want, they're going to get what they want. It's not going to.
Let me ask you one question.
Go ahead.
Would Nintendo ever make this mistake again with names?
Yes. They will.
You think they would?
Yes.
You think their next console would be Nintendo Switch S?
I think that you're going to get probably like the new Nintendo Switch.
No, I'm talking about the next console leap.
Oh, the next console leap. Well, who knows?
It's going to be called like the Nintendo Mushroom.
No, I think that Nintendo has kind of learned a little bit of a lesson of like not, unless you specifically name it like. I think that Nintendo's only issue was calling it the Wii U.
Yeah.
Okay, let's back it up. That wasn't the only issue with that console. But that was the starting point of the problem. If they would have said Wii 2, I think it would have been probably better. And I think that's what people are getting at here. Like they thought that it should have been called like Xbox 2 and that might have been the answer if they just would have said like Xbox 2X. Yeah. It probably would have been fine. But I understand what they're trying to do. They're looking long term, and I think what they're trying to do is go, this is the Xbox Series X. And then they're going to do the lesser versions that might be like Xbox Series R or Xbox Series H, or they might try to do all these different models, which is basically what other companies tend to do.
Yeah. So I think there's a problem, not a Wii U problem, not that extreme. Plus the marketing is going to be way better on this one. So
you would hope so, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, ultimately. Okay, so my topic is, because we're this thing's going to launch. This is actually the full version is actually launching Christmas morning.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it kind of fits in, right? So, what are some of your most memorable Nintendo Christmas moments? Little Pat wakes up, runs down to the Christmas tree. Paint the picture, Patrick.
Well, I told this one before. The Wii back in 2006 when it first came out. My mom duped me. She said I wasn't getting it, and then she my brother was dating this girl at the time who worked at Walmart. Some poor sap returned it, and then we drove there. That was the only Christmas I knew what I was getting. But yeah, I mean, you remember that time, like the Wii getting it launch year, like was impossible. Like I remember when I first got it, there was friends of mine who wanted it, and like they literally had to wait till like spring to get it again. It was nuts.
2 years. It took me 2 years to get it, and I had to buy it off eBay for $500.
Jesus
Christ.
It
was no joke, man. It was serious. That's kind of cool though. So your mom. So you knew you were getting because you all drove to Walmart to get it.
Yeah, like I literally went with her, my brother. But it was something I had some weird obsession over. Like I feel like motion control for me was like the next leap. Like I thought this was it.
Yeah.
People at that time were talking about VR, to be honest, but it wasn't like what we have today.
Yeah.
So motion control, I remember seeing videos of like Wii bowling, and like I was obsessed with this. I would literally be on YouTube watching just gameplay. Like everyone was pumped about it. And yeah, to just go there and just to see it in the background, like I heard people asking about it, like, can I get that? It was nuts back then, man. I don't know. Are we ever going to get a Nintendo console with that much hype? That was a lot.
I think the Switch would have had that kind of hype if it was launched at holiday.
Yeah.
Because the Switch had a hell of a lot of hype, you know?
Yeah.
But it's also, the fact of the matter is you're also older. So the odds are you won't get that moment again.
That's true.
For me, it was the Super Nintendo. And so I wanted it for Christmas so badly. And my mom and dad had this belief system of, if the thing isn't backwards compatible, we don't want to get it. because it took me forever to convince them to get me an NES. Like, we had the Atari 2600 and all kinds of games, and they were just like, "No, you got all these games, you know." So I literally started begging my mom like months beforehand, like, "Mom, the Super Nintendo's coming out. You gotta get it for me. It's gonna be hard to get. If you can get it, you gotta get it now." Like, I'm pumping her up, right?
Yeah.
And then she's like, "You know the rules. Like, it's a brand new system. You have all these Nintendo games." I'm like, "Mom, come with me." So we walk to my brother's room. And I open a door and I go, "Do you see this atrocity that's taking place here?" I'm like, "He's got stuff all over the place. He's like a bomb went in the bedroom, right?" And I will walk into mine. I go, "Now look at me. Here's my TV. Here's my Nintendo. It's all pristine. I'm telling you, I'm going to play these games as well as the Super Nintendo games. Please get me a Super Nintendo." And but Christmas morning, I opened up my presents and there was a Super Nintendo. Lost my mind.
And this was the year it launched?
This is the year it launched.
Oh, man.
And I was like super happy. My cousin didn't get it, but me and my cousin played video games all the time together. So we were on Christmas break because we were in school. And I remember him coming down to my house, and it was cold and snowy. And my brother went someplace. My brother went away. I don't know where he went. And I literally, me and my cousin spent the weekend, because he just slept over every night, spent the weekend playing Super Mario World and SimCity. And, like, it was the greatest weekend ever of my life. Like, when I try to go back and replicate my youth, that's what I shoot for. When I got it's so funny, when I got the, when Mario Kart came out on the Wii U, I took off from work the Friday. I was married at the time. Came home from work Thursday, kissed Tony goodnight, went upstairs, went to bed, woke up at 11:30, went back downstairs at 11:30. She was still awake. I was like, okay, I'm going to buy Mario Kart now. Bought it, downloaded it, finally got it downloaded on 4 o'clock in the morning and started playing at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, my God.
And, like, it was, you know, but that whole weekend I spent playing that. And it was like, it took me back to being this kid playing Super Nintendo at 15 years old. So it's such a special time, I think.
Now let me ask you, because the Genesis was out at that time, right?
Dude, would you stop? Do you really think that would have had any competition?
Like, what did the kids in the school say? Like, there must have been like a Genesis crowd.
There was. It was very small.
Because they were like perfect arcade ports. Like,
pretty much. They were pretty close. They were as close to arcade ports as you can get. Because that was the difference. Like, when I was a kid, compared to kids today, when I was a kid, arcades were kind of like the theatrical release.
Yeah.
And then home console was kind of like the VHS edition.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, so that makes sense.
You know, that's the way we viewed it. So you would go to the arcade to play like Street Fighter, the true version of Street Fighter, and then come home and play the other version, and, you know, so on and so forth. But that was the era that the games were actually starting to look and play better.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I remember, like, when NBA Jam came out, and there was actually an absolute distinct difference between the games. They both were trying to have exclusives. So Nintendo said, like, if the game is on another console, we don't want it. So, like, that's why when you play, like, Lion King, there's two versions of Lion King. There's two versions of Aladdin, because they both had their exclusive versions. The Nintendo versions, in my mind, were always better than the Sega ones.
Mm-hmm.
But Sega was always on the cutting edge. Like, I remember Joe Montana talking football, where it actually had like play-by-play built into it and stuff. So
that was big.
Yeah, that was huge. So the only one that I knew of my friends that had a Super or a Sega Genesis was my best friend, his cousin. Mm-hmm. His cousin got everything. So
I mean, one of those,
literally everything. Like, he got the big G.I. Joe aircraft carrier and stuff. Like, this thing was like the size of a football field, and he got one. And, like, so this kid always got everything. And so he got it. But, like, all my friends, we just all, because the NES was the NES was so integral to what we knew with gaming, none of us wanted a Sega Genesis at all. Yeah. So,
because my household was a Genesis and then a PS1 household. I was too young to even have a word in, but
yeah.
Because when I got the Wii, I got a bunch of crap from my friends. Because why didn't you get a 360? Because at the time, like Gears of War was out, and that game still looks good.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would you want a Wii? Like that's kind of when like the console divide started. The Wii like made Nintendo like a joke, pretty much. It sold great.
Yeah.
But like, why would you get a Wii if there's like a powerful 360? So that's the only reason why I asked.
Well, because money, man. That was. I feel like the 360 PS3 era, the money was so different.
The Wii was 200 when it came out.
Yeah, it was
or 249.
No, it was 200. It was $200. But the Xbox and the PlayStation 3 were like $600.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Yeah, the Xbox was crazy.
Yeah.
And looking back now, 360 is probably the worst console ever built.
Yeah,
retro. We'll get into the next topic, but there's not a lot of retro stores that even sell it.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of places that even sell it anymore.
Well, because number one, you had the Red Ring of Death, where a lot of those consoles were just bad and broke. I mean, that's neither here nor there. But the thing is, for me, when I look at this and I go, for me, it was a no-brainer. I didn't get a Genesis until like almost the end of that life cycle. Like I did go back because I wanted to play some games that were hitting on the Genesis. Just like Sonic at that point was like Sonic 2, I think. I wanted to try it, and I was just like, oh, this is so bad. And so there was a lot of stuff like the sports games. I felt like the EA Sports were better on a Genesis. They were the better.
Sports game NHL was great.
So
I had a lot of good ones.
I had them on the Super Nintendo, but they just weren't as good for whatever reason. I don't know what it was. They just looked and played better on a Genesis. So that was the reason why I got one, because I was a big sports fan. Like I played every sports game that came out and all that. So the other thing too, which was right around the same time, was the Neo Geo.
That's right. And that was pricey too, right?
Oh my God, it was so expensive, man. But that was straight up arcade quality games.
Exactly, yeah.
And the crazy thing that people don't know is, like, let's say that I was at home and I was playing Baseball Stars, right, on the Neo Geo. I could take like a memory card to the arcade, plug the memory card into the arcade, and play my save file of Baseball Stars at the arcade.
What?
And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I could also like rent like a rental type thing too with memory cards. Go in and like pull a game and take it home and play it at home.
Oh wow!
I could be wrong with that part of it, but there was a lot of stuff like that was very, very different.
Yeah, like I have I love the Wii. I still collect for it, but I have the Metal. I have the Metal Slug anthology for the Wii. Like they have a lot of Neo Geo compilations on there, and they're great, man. They're like
Metal Slug's a good game. Metal Slug. I bought a lot of those when they came to Switch. They're like a lot of Contra type. It feels, but it's a better version of the game.
SNK, Samurai Showdown. There's some good Neo Geo games, but at the time it was like impossible to get.
Yeah.
So
now you got the Wii. Was any other time like big around Christmas for Nintendo for you?
For me, like I said, it was mainly like Genesis, PS1. I never got a GameCube, which I wanted, but at that time it was kind of like nearing the other console generation. Mm-hmm. I feel like this upcoming or next Christmas, actually, I'll like hold out on a game and like wait till Christmas because I'll never get that feeling again. Because whenever I get games, I just buy them whenever I want.
That's how I am too. Like this year, like I mean, I don't celebrate Christmas too much anymore now, but like for me, it's different. Like I buy stuff all year long. Yeah. So it's just like, whatever. When I go, like Black Friday, I was just buying everything.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, this is time to take advantage. Like, why am I worried about other people?
But no, that was my only Nintendo Christmas.
That's funny.
To be honest.
That's funny.
The Wii.
Okay, what's your final topic over there?
Okay, this one. I think you'll have some insight on this one. But I wanted to ask you just a random one. The future of vintage video game shops. There's probably about a dozen within like 50 miles of me. And I would say like one or two of them are good. And, a couple years ago, even like a year ago, people were starting to say like, oh, you'll see them start disappearing. But I kind of wanted to ask you, like, what do you see the future of, retro game stores? Because not even like the big players like GameStop or anything can really capitalize on vintage games. Like they don't have it down yet. Like
No.
Best Buy will never do it.
No.
So in your opinion, what do you think the future is of retro game stores?
I think that if obviously I think it all depends on how well the retro video game store handles their inventory, handles their prices. So I go to Next Level, which is a friend of mine, Nick Militia.
Yep.
I go to his store quite often, and he has two things: great selection, great pricing. He's priced to move. He's not priced to sit on stuff. Exactly. I feel like when you go to these stores and everything's really high priced, those are the stores that I think are gonna cripple themselves. Mm-hmm. I think that if you get stuff that it's priced reasonably and it's priced to move, you'll see some stuff happen. But I think that's the catch-22 we're in. But I think as long as there are NESs, Super Nintendos, and Dreamcasts out there, there's always going to be a need for a retro store. Now, I know that we've seen GameStop starting to kind of lean into that a little bit. I think this weekend we started to see GameStop stores going out of business. Mm-hmm. But the new stores are getting like a retro area where you can go in and play old school games.
Yeah, it's like a lounge.
It's like a lounge almost on them now. And that's like, it's crazy because when I go to Nick's store, Nick has like a little lounge area where you can play old school games and stuff, and you could play the Super Nintendo or the NES and stuff. He has it set up so you could jump in and do that stuff if you so choose to. But so it's weird that they're taking a little bit from the retro stores to some degree. Yeah. It's harder to me because we talked about this last week. Like, what does the future, like 20 years from now, what's retro games look like?
That looks like a weird cloud. Like, I think consoles are going to start selling based on the digital library, which is nuts to me. But I was reading an article, came out this past year. eBay reported different like sales, like trends and stuff like that. The N64 market has seen a 200% increase this past year.
Yeah.
And we start like, you start doing the math on the ages, and like you start seeing like maybe like the people that were playing N64 are now like 20s and 30s. They have like disposable income. There's always going to be a market for nostalgia. Mm-hmm. And I think GameStop, it's too little too late for them. I think personally, they should have been capitalizing on this before.
Absolutely.
But the retro game I was talking about, the one that I said was good, they know the current trends of gaming. Like they're going out ordering limited run games, like stuff that some retro places don't do or don't like take advantage of. So I think that there will be always a market for that. But like you said, they can't sit on stuff. They can't have like a Mega Man in glass for years.
Yeah.
Like they just need to get in, get out, get new inventory. I'm sure people are always going to a store selling something. It's just there's a level in quality, obviously, in retro game stores, but I don't really see them going away, especially in the future.
No. And, the thing is like, I know that, like, Jamsey has the whole Wii U collection, right?
Yep.
And I was talking to him, and he was saying that Nick had told him, because he was like, what's next? Jamsey was just like, I don't know what's next. And he was talking to Nick, and Nick said to him, he said, N64 is becoming the next big thing. Because there's not as many games, and there wasn't many hard-to-get games. Like, when you go to the NES, there's a lot of games that are, like, super hard to get.
It's like $2 or $2,000.
Yeah, you're not going to... It's so hard to complete that collection. Yeah. And if you're going to collect, you want to collect because you want to complete that collection. N64 is not that difficult because I think there was only, like, 300 games in the library total. And there wasn't any of these really super hard exclusives to get. Where, with the NES, you have, like, Little Samson. Little Samson's like a $900 game. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I actually saw it because Nick got 2 of them in a couple weeks ago. Like, about a month ago. Got 2 of them in. I'm like, So I got to look at it and hold it, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, this game goes for $900. He's like, yeah, man.
It's a pretty fun game too.
Yeah. And then you even look at like even the Super Nintendo. You had that whole Earthbound situation where those games are impossible to get and they're super high priced.
Yeah.
So that's why N64 is kind of taken off where it is now. But when you look back, right, when you look back at things and you go, it's so much easier to jump into a retro library back then because everything works. I'm curious what the future is, and I wonder, like, I think that where the cutoff of retro is now, like, you might get some Wii U stuff that might become a retro type thing. Like, I think the Wii U is going to, at one day, turn into, like, the Dreamcast.
Yeah, I think Jams is sitting on a little gold mine right there.
I think so, too, because I think one day, people are going to look back at the Wii U and go, man, this is such, there were so many good, great games on this console. But it was just, because of that gamepad, it had this stigma, and it hurt that console.
Yeah.
So, I just think that Nintendo, where I think that retro gaming will probably stop, that'll probably be the last great one. Like, I think when the Switch is done, I don't know that there'll be a lot of retro for that, because like we talked about updates.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain games that just won't work because of that. So how do you turn around? Like, if you, let's put it this way. If I walked into a store and I was like, hey man, I want Earthbound on the SNES. And you're like, hey man, it's $500. But there's an opportunity that might not work. Might not be able to play it.
Yeah.
It's not, that value of $500 isn't there no more. You know?
No, you're right. It's going to end. I think the Wii U is the last like retro Nintendo console, because I'm not going to buy a Switch. I've seen personally how the Switch is made. It's not really a for the long term type console. But yeah, like I think complete in box collecting is like the new thing now. But I think nostalgia is going to run out even on the Wii U, because like the NES now is like diving. Like the prices are going away on that. So obviously, you know, the N64 is like the big thing now. In a few years, the Wii will be big, and like then it'll be Wii U or GameCube. So I see some stores surviving, especially if GameStop goes out, because then where are you going to get physical? Because they still sell Wii, Xbox 360 games.
Yeah.
So it becomes, you know, where are you going to buy it? And eBay is like full of scalpers and stuff like that. So the good ones will survive, but yeah, I think we're living in the modern age right now. I think the Switch is going to be collectible.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think we're hitting the end of that retro type thing. And I really believe that, like, kids that are born now will never experience what we experienced going into retro game stores. Like, that is going to be a thing of the past, and they won't get what it was. Like, they won't understand what it was. It's almost like when I was a kid and I would go into a comic book shop, right? And I'd look at the new and the shiny stuff. And my dad would be looking at the walls at the $50, $60 comics, because he remembers reading those when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And he would be like, hey, man, you want to get one of these? And I'm like, no, I don't want that. It looks bad. It looks horrible. Smells. You know, it's just not good, you know? And then, like, he would buy stuff anyway to make me go read. They're like, yeah, check it out. Just check it out. And the book, like, they weren't great storylines, and they were decent stories, but it wasn't like what I was reading at the time. And I feel like that's a very similar thing. Like, you're going to hit a point where kids are just like, what's the point of going back and playing Mario?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, even myself, I would rather play an NES Classic 1,000 times over than like going to get an NES. And I know that might hurt your soul a little bit, but like,
no, because I know it's expensive.
Yeah, I mean, the Super Nintendo Classic I think is perfect. Like, if I have that little itch to play those kind of games, I'll plug that in. So I'm starting like thinking this way. So I can't even imagine the future, the digital millennial little kids.
Well, the other problem too, Pat, that I don't think we're even taking into consideration is one of the other reasons why you don't want to do that is, dude, if you buy an NES, right, how do you play it? Because it doesn't hook to our TVs. It's rare that you find an HD TV that you can actually plug in and work to read the signal for an NES. You know, you have to have a CRT TV. So it's.
I mean, I'm a weirdo who still does and still watches VHS, but I'm not. I'm not the majority.
Yeah,
of that.
but you're also tail end.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like you're also that kind of like cutoff age where
yeah.
generations that are coming after you. Like I don't see your brother doing that stuff. Your little
No,
brother. Like I
no.
think he's done. Like that's the cutoff. Like that's over. Like that generation, I don't see them. Like the kids that are playing Fortnite right now. Like imagine that, right? Imagine this. Imagine spending all your childhood, right, playing a game like Fortnite.
You're making me sad. I know where this is going.
And then 20 years from now, you can never play Fortnite again.
That's it. The servers are done.
Yeah. It's like this is a
Wow.
game that revolution in theory is going to revolutionize and go down as one of the greatest revolutionary games of our time period in gaming. And people 20 years from now will never be able to play that game. It's
Wow.
nuts.
Wow. They're gonna have to find. You can't even make like a classic version of that either. It needs to
think
be
about
online.
it. No, because you got to have people online. And think about
Yeah.
it. Like, we can't even go back and play Chapter 1.
Yeah.
Chapter 1's done. And that map, that world, that has so much nostalgia to it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, where you drop in, a lot of people went to Tilted Tower. Like, and even as time went on, and they changed that map over time, it was like, there was areas that you would never go back. So it's like, it's this weird moment, this weird thing that, like, online. And, dude, even like Splatoon. Like, as much as we love Splatoon.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, the first Splatoon is pointless.
Yeah, like
Why would you even?
I think Jamsey, he did a video one time, I think, where he was trying to go back and play some of the old stuff. And
Yeah, who's still online in the Wii U? Yeah.
And he went back and he was playing. He went on. He got one. I think he got one match of
Yeah.
Splatoon. Like he sat there for a while waiting for the lobby to fill up. It's crazy. It's just crazy.
I think retro game stores. I mean, I don't want to be like a downer, but I think like they have like another at least 10 years minimum. But I mean, it's going to start getting cloudy after that. There's going to be people that have nostalgia like forever.
Yeah.
But as soon as that age gets up, then, you can't really sell nostalgia at that point. Like NES, like I was saying before, the market is tanking almost because like the people that were playing it are now like older and don't want to go back to it. So, but for now, there's nowhere to go.
Let me ask you a question. Since we're kind of on this, I mentioned it earlier. GameStop, some of the stores are starting to go out of business.
Yeah.
And I've been going into some message boards, and I'm really, for lack of a better term, pissed off at people that are actually cheering for the demise of this company. I mean, what's your take on GameStop? What's your feeling on it?
I love GameStop. I will shout from the roofs that I like GameStop. I pretty much shop there unless there's a game that's not there and it's at Best Buy or something like that. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be a significant impact when GameStop goes away because the whole trade-in market, of course, GameStop doesn't want your NBA 2K10. Like, You're not going to get $20 for that.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest like gap between people. They don't understand value. Like, if you're trying to get rid of the game, chances are other people are trying. So why would GameStop, pay a premium? Yeah. I like GameStop. I think they do a great job. The option to buy used stuff. I know it's at some other places, like I think Walmart does used games, stuff like that. But there's going to be a significant impact, man. And like, there's like GameStop exclusive games. So I would definitely not cheer for a company. I would never cheer for a company to go out of business. That's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of, but I don't know. You're going to see other companies like Best Buy and stuff like in Amazon take advantage of the fact because they're pretty much price matching GameStop to put them out of business.
Yeah.
But when they're gone, what's the point? They don't need to anymore. So I'm definitely not rooting for them to go.
Yeah, I am under the mindset that this is a good thing for them to do. I said this a few months back that, when you go to a GameStop, there's typically another two GameStops within a 5-mile radius of where you're at.
Yeah, they need to.
So what I would prefer to see them do, and I think that's what they're doing, is take the best employees and put them in the best store.
Yeah.
And I think my understanding that's what's happening at there's literally like I got one mall that has 2 GameStops in the mall. Like, what sense does that make? Why do you have 2 GameStops in the mall? one on the upstairs and one on the downstairs. Makes no sense. And then literally outside the mall, across the street in the Best Buy complex, is another GameStop. So there's 3 GameStops within a 1 mile vicinity of each other.
Wow.
I think stuff like that is just silliness. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. So to see like them shut down 1 or 2 stores in that area makes sense to me.
Yeah.
You know, why would you do all like, and me locally in my town here, there's one on the outside of the mall down the street, and there's one inside the mall. And they're both, the one on the outside down the street is actually the better of the two. But my understanding is they're going to probably wind up shutting them all down and then doing a collaboration like of employees, and they're going to basically set it up. But I personally am okay with him cutting back. I just don't want to see them disappear completely.
Yeah.
I feel like if we hit a point where GameStop goes out of business, I think it hurts. It hurts people. Because I don't necessarily go to GameStop for games. I do go to GameStop for other things.
Yeah.
I go there for quirky, weird things like,
accessories, amiibos.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that they have. And they do have some exclusive stuff occasionally that you can't get anywhere else. But for me personally, I would rather go to a GameStop and buy the little, accessories or controllers, because they get exclusive, they get a lot of exclusive Power 8 controllers that I go there and buy. And but as far as games, and I'm not the person that goes and shops used games. That's why I don't really go to GameStop. I want brand new games. For me, I buy all my games from Best Buy, and that's just because of the Gamers Unlocked and the discount that I get, and I get the coupons, and then that adds up, and I'll get $20 off a game because I get a bunch of coupons after buying stuff there. So that's what works best for me. But if I didn't have that option, I probably would shop at GameStop, because I used to like to go in there and pre-order like 5-6 games at a time. I feel like where GameStop hurt themselves, though, is they don't spend the time calling customers like they used to.
Yeah.
When you pre-ordered a game, I remember all the time when a game was pre-ordered, they would call and say, "Hey, you got this game back there." I've pre-ordered games and like they've never called, and it's
I
weird.
did get like a text alert saying like your game is ready, but that was on one game.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't really pre-order a lot of games. Maybe that's the reason why. But yeah, I don't know. They just missed the market with gamers. They're still in the mindset of all gamers buy Madden and Call of Duty, and they're just not. They don't take advantage of that. I don't know. I think they will go away, unfortunately, but it's not something I'm necessarily rooting for. I do have a lot of memories with GameStop. I still shop there. I got the strategy guide, whatever. Yeah. But it's gonna be a sad day. It's gonna mess the market up a bit too.
I think so. I definitely think so.
Yeah.
So that is all. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of Nintendo Talk. Episode 108 is now in those ear holes. Be sure to check out everything that Pat is doing on the interwebs. Check him out over on Twitter at NintenTalk. Also, go check out his YouTube channel, youtube.com/NintenTalk, which on Monday, Tuesday, he gets exclusive breakouts of this stuff. So if you want to check it out early to hear what we're talking about, or you just want to take bite-sized chunks of the show and watch it that way, that's fine too. So go over there and check that stuff out. You can follow me Instagram, Twitter, and on Twitch at Nintendo Gurus. That is all. Peace out, Preston.
See ya.